Hello, everyone. We are back, and you might remember me. It's Diana from yesterday. and I'm here today with our panel discussion and with our closing, I would say, event here. But it's very much exciting, I think. To be honest, it's my first panel discussion to moderate, so I'm a little bit nervous. But I just thought that, maybe me moderating this panel discussion is also interesting because our conference is at the end of the day for young project managers who I am. And I think that my questions and maybe my ideas here is something what is very much alike with those attendees that we are having here with us today. And let me introduce, please, the people, those professionals who we're having here today at our panel discussion. And we have Dr. Amr. He has a very, very great experience in HR background, and he's a learning facilitator, subject matter expert, association for talent development. And also here today with us, we have Kris Roppelt. Kristina is a CEO and founder, expert agency for international cooperation and intercultural communication expert. I think you know Kristina very well from yesterday because Kristina was one of our keynote speakers. Also, we have with us Almahdy. He is a senior program manager in MENA region and also WAPTEC Corporation. In WebTech Corporation. So I'm very excited to have all of you here, with very vast backgrounds, and we're going to look at relationship and engagement from different points of views and different things to consider. I think that we are going to have a fruitful discussion today. So what's the topic for our panel discussion? We are going to cover those things that we are facing right now with VUCA world. I know that you guys even asked some questions to our speakers previously, also about working in virtual teams and all of those challenges that we are currently facing as project managers or team members as the world is evolving after the pandemics and different situations that have some circumstances that we have to deal with as leaders, not only of the teams but also of ourselves. And just for us to also overview a bit the topic of relationship and engagement, I think it's important to note that throughout these 2 days, we covered such things as motivation, as feedback giving, as networking to build relationships, as community management, peer reviews, and all of those tools that can help us to form this fundamental, basic principles to start from there and engage and build those teams that are really passionate, that are really thriving, that are virtual or hybrid or intercultural, to do the best for the world. So I think that was a good of introduction. So let me open the floor with a question to our panelists today. And the first question would be actually, how do you see the changed world, first of all, from where you stand in terms of engagement and building relationships? And also here, it's, I think, very important. And I think I face myself this question a lot. How do we manage ourselves and manage our teams to engage in those situations when it's very hard to understand what's going on, when we sometimes don't have enough information, when the things are changing too fast and we need to be flexible. So how do we react to that and live to this change? So who'd like to go the first?
Okay, so like if Almahdy and Kris, excuse me, I can go first. First of all, looks like you're very professional, experienced in like moderating sessions. Like this is not your first session. I can say that you are great in doing that. So I applaud that. So thank you, Diana, for giving me the chance, and thank you for our panelists. So I think this is the change that happened, the pandemic. It's something we did not see it coming. We did not forecast for it. We did not prepare ourselves as strategic leaders to take this into consideration. It was a situation what ahead of us globally, and then all of a sudden we have to deal with it. And the people, like we have seen that at this point of time, many people lost their jobs, and like a panic kind of hit the world. And we did say that we were not part of this panic. We were part of this panic, and there's like ambiguity that happened. And then the people who survived that are the people like recouped what happened and start strategizing and start implementing fast. So I would say that those talents right now that happens, that we learned them from the pandemic, is how to absorb this change, and rather than complaining about it, putting some strategies in place and embrace it and know that it is the reality. There is no way of bringing back what happened before March 2020. This is an era that we passed. And I think from what you mentioned right now, managing teams virtually or during the pandemic or up to now, it's a talent that we did not see it even in talent acquisition and recruitment. We didn't look for that. But right now, we need the agility, we need the mobility, we need the flexibility. So this is something that we look forward when we hire someone. We say that, hey, this is something that we did not consider in the past, because in the past, we used like be very rigid. We give people like job descriptions and we ask them to do it. And then there's like OKRs or KPIs, whatever like you would like to assess them for, and then you deliver and that's it. But right now, it's not like this. It's the flexibility, agility, and readiness for change, whatever change. Don't tell me that, hey, you have to be like adaptive to change. No, it's not that change. It's anything that's the life will be throwing ahead of us, in front of us. So right now, I know it's very tough. However, this is a talent that we are looking for right now. How we do it, as I mentioned, that we search for these skills and we develop those kind of skills as we go.
May I just address a quick follow-up question? So how do you develop those skills?
So number one, by just being aware that we are looking for those skills, and just by stretching the skills muscle by throwing on a little bit of changing, changing situations. And by doing that, this is how we develop talents. Like different between skill and talent. Like skill is something that we know that we have it. However, by practicing and stretching those kind of muscles, it becomes a talent. So number one, spot the skill, put like small increments of challenging situations ahead, and then we develop this kind of talent.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So I think I could maybe pass the word to Almahdy, I guess. Or
yes, thanks, Diana. I would echo what Amr said, that surely it's not your first session to moderate. Actually, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity. This is a very great opportunity. Concerning the pandemic, yes, it was a kind of catastrophic situation. And for the project managers, I would say that I was in the middle of a big project that I'm working with the Egyptian government at the time. So we have to deliver, and it's a big thing at the time. And suddenly everything shut down, and we need to have a kind of shuttle travel between the US and Egypt, but it didn't happen, and that surely was a crisis. The situation here when it comes to the talent or what we have to have, actually, this is something that we need to understand. We are in a life, and the life is not stable. It's always dynamic. We may have some crisis all the time. Maybe it's a kind of acquisition of my company, so the company could be acquired by other company. It's a crisis as well. I could have a kind of supplier who is not there, who is producing a kind of project. The problem with the pandemic was that it's globally affecting the whole world. And the point is the media, I would say. When it comes to the media, it affecting us. When I'm saying one bad, I would say that one bad news. If I see this bad news 10 times, I have this 10 times bad feelings. If I see it one time, that's okay, so I can deal with it. The only thing that I would say we, as projects manager, we need to have is the mental toughness. This mental toughness will give us a kind of a way to deal with whatever we have in hand. We are saying it is what it is. We cannot change the world. We are here to adapt Adaptability is what behind the, I would say, the survivor of the human being. If we have this kind of pandemic, we have it before for in Europe, and the world. I'm still here, so I'm here. So the humanity survived out of it. So we shouldn't be worried. We should look for it. This is a kind of, I would say, skills or traits that we must have as project managers. The mental toughness. Mental toughness, that means that we are able to adapt, that we are able to see what's behind the city, to search for a kind of a way out of it, a kind of a benefit in this situation, because each crisis has, you know, a pros and cons, and surely this pandemic has a lot of cons for other companies. I would say for healthcare, as I was working for healthcare before. So this is what I recommend: having the mental toughness in each one of us. You should have this kind of mental toughness. It will give him the ability to deal in a peace of mind with everyone, with every situation. That's number one. Number two, yes, it's good to have the news, but normalize the news you are saying. If you are saying a bad news, it's one bad news. It's not 10 bad news. It's because you saw it 10 times. So this is my takeaway, and I would like to say that during this 2020, we dealt with it in a dynamic way, and we were able to navigate and actually achieve our goals, and maybe we deliver much faster than what we had in the schedule, which was a nice result of that.
Thank you very much. I have another follow-up. I guess today I'm a follow-up person. So Almahdy, could you please share what do you do as a project manager to, support your team members, or somehow to keep the engagement? Because whenever people are like disfocused, like I don't know, what tools, or what do you say, or what the small things, what you do as a project manager to help the team also grow through that without losses in terms of engagement results?
So as a project manager, you are orchestrating people. We are always pretending that we are not, but people are emotional creatures. So this is important thing that we have to understand. Each one of us is emotional. So if we have this, if we put this in mind, we'd be able to see our team members, our colleagues, not even the team we have in the project that we are managing, but also the teams around us. We have to respect that we are emotional creatures, and we have to understand that very carefully and think about that. Engineers in general, they think that we are just the numbers, but actually, after 25 years in engineering, I would say somehow it's not the truth. Actually, the truth is that we are human beings with the emotions. So we have, as project managers, we have to respect that. We have to respect our team members. We have to be tough on subject and be kind on people. So what I have done is to understand that we are not the same in reacting to crisis. We are not the same in reacting to difficult situation. We are not the same. That's how we integrate with each other and how we achieve the results. Someone can have this kind of, he can discuss and talk and speak, and the others is focusing. And by having this integration, the project manager should know that, should understand that. And from this point, believing that humans are emotional. Number two, believing that we are having different reaction to, I would say, different situations. So he can have a kind of focus on each one of his team. Not have this kind of holistic, because this is a crisis mode. So when dealing with a crisis mode, we should work in, I would say, that in more focusing on people. At the end of the day, people are making the success, and people needs a kind of special treatment with each one, especially with your colleagues here inside the company. When you are dealing with the customer, you have this kind of barrier. So he's controlling himself, you are controlling yourself, and things are okay. But the difficult thing is inside the company. And when it comes to crisis, people are getting worried. Oh, I have kids, I have a family, I need to secure my wages, and things are going to into nowhere. So they are taking in defensive mode. And again, if they have this kind of mental toughness, they will be able to absorb it and see it's normal, guys. What it is, and what happened, we will deal with it. I would say our grandfathers, they dealt with much more crisis than we have. By having this kind of thing, dealing with the company, because you will have many people, sometimes they are throwing the monkeys over your shoulder, and each one want to get rid of that. Oh, it's not mine. Oh, it's not mine. So it's normal human being. So we shouldn't build up feelings in this crisis situation when we are angry, when we are, for example, if we are lost in a kind of in the woods, for example, we having this kind of walking around and we lost our way in the woods. Some people have a control. People are getting nervous. We cannot judge people getting nervous in such kind of bad situation. We have to understand that, especially within the company, because they are their colleagues, they are your team, even they are your peers that you are counting on them. So this is very important to understand their emotions, to deal with them individually. I'm saying individually. Try to, I would say, avoid emails. Yeah. Emails are something that's very, I would say that emails didn't reflect the emotions. The voice reflects some of the emotions. Even the videos reflect some. The best thing is to have the face-to-face, being on the net on a dinner. But as long as it's not possible, don't use the emails. Just go pick your phone and speak up to him. Hey, what happened? I feel that you are. What's wrong? And you will be surprised about the message that he will bring to you. You will be surprised about how much that you wanted someone to listen to him, and that's it. And please, when you do this, just listen, and active listening. Listen carefully what he's saying, because then you will know exactly what he has in his mind, what he has in his spirit, what makes him worse, and you just give him the key to, I would say, to a key for the relief. So he will be acting normally and back to, I would say, the normal status of him. So this is my recommendation as a project manager. Went through it. Don't feel that if you are having a good relation with your customer, this is a good thing. No, the most important thing is your colleagues inside the company, and especially when we have a kind of multinational companies that we have different people, and surely the impact is different based on the region. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. And I was just thinking that in each Global PM Days edition, we look at different people competences, and you were talking about mental toughness a lot, active listening, and I can recall the speakers that we had previously in our editions, and I just understand how, in these crisis situations, all of these people competences need to work together, and that actually it's not only when we talk about relationship and engagement, it's only relationship and engagement. It's so wide, and there are so many things that we should consider. And at the end of the day, remember that we are people. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I saw how actively you were listening, first of all, and how engaged you are.
I'm trying. I have big ears here, as you can see. This is not a headset. Actually, this is my ears.
Yep. So, Christina, how do you feel about the question that I posed here earlier with the change that we are facing, and how should we address it not to lose the engagement and relationship continue working effectively?
Yeah, Diana, thank you so much. Thank you, fellow panelists. I believe I have no moral right to ignore the compliments, and again, pay the tribute to your fantastic skill. And I'd like to thank the colleagues for driving already so many ideas forward. And that leaves me with just maybe 3 thoughts that I would like to put on top of that. And I really appreciated that the colleagues were speaking about the agility, flexibility, responsibility and the people component in the project management. So it could easily be interpreted into people's management these days. And it really rolls around people's management more than project management. I fully agree with that. But my first thought, and I'd like to take a step back a little bit, would be that for the majority of us, those changes that were pushed forward are associated with the coronavirus. They are associated with this hybrid mode of work, this quarantine, this lockdowns, this virtual meetings, those changes in the legal and financial issues relating from this online remote work. But I'd like to highlight, and again, thanks for the fact that we are here in a very diverse environment. I'd like to highlight that in many regions across the world, Corona was only the start of the whole mess that was happening afterwards. For many, it wasn't a start, but it was a continuation. And I'd like to say that in some regions, there are protests happening at the moment. In some regions, there are wars happening at the moment. In some regions, there were these extreme temperatures, floods, et cetera, that we've been experiencing. And for many localities, for many neighborhoods and communities, these terrific events were even more considerable and dramatic for the change of the lifestyle and working environment than Corona. And in fact, when I'm working with different countries and different clients across the world, I see how impactful this has been. And I've seen that all of these changes, they've been inputting and bringing a kind of similar let's say, challenges to the teams that work now virtually more than in person. So moving on to my second thought, I'd like to say that regardless of the culture that team is based in, there has been a very influential change, or let's say transition in the balance between personal and work. So I wouldn't like to say that work-life balance has changed so much, but there has been a dramatic shift in terms of where your personal starts and ends and where your professional starts and ends. And this deals, of course, with the fact that many people are displaced. They no longer live in the place where they used to live, so they had to change their country of residence or their city of residence. And for that reason, they do have to work online a lot, or they have to work in a very new environment in the new office of the same company. And in many cases, this definitely poses a challenge for distinguishing between personal space and working space. We now work online and we see our, children, family members, our pets at the background. And at the same time, we have to, keep being professional, stay professional. And at the same time, professional jumps into our personal lives. And sometimes because of this new place of residence or relocation that we had to go through, it becomes a big of a challenge, a massive challenge. And in this regard, what Almahdy was talking about, this focus on the personal becomes critical for any project manager, because for many people, this is absolutely inconvenient for a psychological perspective to see what was going on and, expressing this anxiousness and anxiety because of these change in their habitual lifestyle and work style. And the third idea, and I'm wrapping up here, would be that for many of us, however much we talked about globalization, the idea of working with somebody from a different country or from a different culture was still quite distant. So regardless where you were based, in the US or in Egypt or in Ukraine, it was most cases for many companies and for the majority of the companies, still a local team that you would be working with. In the best case scenario, you would have, say, an outsourced team that would be working online with you from a different country. Now that all those dramatic changes are happening, we see more and more intercultural teams appearing, simply because lots of people were displaced again, and lots of people had to change their working environment, living environment. And in this regard, we suddenly face this dramatic need for empathy, for intercultural awareness, for being very kind and understanding in terms of the people's circumstances. And actually, apart from all the personal stress that we go through, we have to face this cultural shocks and cultural challenges. So for all of this, I would say, of course, I'm not going to say anything new, but we do need this empathic skills, this emotional intelligence, and this intercultural awareness. because of the changes. And again, I welcome everybody to keep in mind that coronavirus was far not the only challenge that happened to many of us throughout these 2 years. So empathic listening and empathy that could be developed with a certain amount of effort, emotional intelligence, and I would say intercultural awareness, considering how mixed we've become, would be my portion of the recipe to add to what gentlemen have said earlier.
Thank you very much, Christina. And actually, you mentioned the challenges, and I think it's very important here for us also to maybe take a look at the one challenge that you personally see right now that we are facing as teams in the current situation, and how do you think it could be overcome, or what are some of the ways that it is currently addressed by business, by project managers, and yeah. So what is one challenge that you see for you or for your colleagues or employees regarding the level of engagement or relationship in this situation?
So Diana, this is a question for Kris.
No, it's the question for all of you, and for Kris, of course, for Kris as well, of course.
So if like I'm answering this, first of all, thank you, Kris. It's very enlightening. I think this is a very good recipe for the OD department to start working on, because of like the mix we are seeing and the diverse backgrounds we're seeing in the groups and the teams globally right now. So this is a very good, I think, free of charge consulting for what OD and learning and development team should be doing for project management. I agree with that. One of the challenges, I would say, that's how to harmonize a global team right now. How a project manager, I know that's very tough right now. I come from a healthcare background. I'm a pharmacist. So it's like my background is a pharmacy. So for me, when I look into project management, it's a very tough job, by the way, and I call them the pacemaker of the company. So the pacemaker is just a node in the heart that orchestrates everything, the pulse and the arteries, the veins, everything. It's a very small node. And sometimes if this node gets like ruined, they put the pacemakers and all the stuff, and it's like, it's huge. So project management is the one that orchestrates all the projects. And one of the things that I think the success on this job is how they tone and harmonize different teams. Sometimes they compile the team, and sometimes they choose and cherry pick the team, and sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes they have a team and all of a sudden they have to start the projects under very severe timelines. So they have to harmonize the team. Sort of like jumping into deliverables and the scope and all the big things that they used to say and present and the milestones and the budget. However, getting along the team together before jumping into a project and launching a project, I think this is one of the challenges. And from my experience working in the OD space and the talent space, I see the project management is like they work on three legs. They have to manage like the tripods. So one of them is the project management skills and resources and softwares they use and the knowledge they have in project management. And number two is they're working with the leadership and the project sponsors. And this necessitates, I would say, relationship building and like one-to-one buying, knowing who's the decision makers and like what should be done. And the number three is people management / change management. So they have to, because like they will be carrying this into people, and like people will be like, they will have all the emotions that Mahdi spoke about, like resistant to change, emotional, what's in it for me, why I'm doing this, why I'm changing that, and all this stuff. So the project manager, they have to orchestrate the three things. So before jumping into the technical stuff and the rough stuff of the project management, and I know that I've seen too many successful project managers with an engineering background, like this is because like they're very well structured. Okay, so the one thing is to let's grease it a little bit with the human empathetic skills and looking into the change human side of it. This is like my 2 cents on that.
Well, yeah, yes, I would echo what you, Amr, said, that I'm also, I was a biomedical engineer. I started in the healthcare and working as a project manager for healthcare as a start, and then moved to the transportation industry and locomotive things. So I would say that it's the challenge that we are facing all the time is the project itself. When the project comes to you as a project manager, I would say I would use the medical acronym for that Amr mentioned, but it's not the project manager is not the pacemaker. Actually, the project is a kind of a hopeless case that came in the emergency ward after a fatal accident. So the project is born actually somehow is about to die. The project is coming to you when we are talking about big projects that you spend about 2 years in preparation with the customer, putting things together and making all this kind of technical thing and having this argument, and everyone will be tired, and the contract will be just on the thin line between fail and success. A very bad margin, a very stressful timeline, and engineering cost is very high in some cases, and you have to optimize everything. And then it came to you like if you are a doctor in emergency ward, he needs a kind of to survive, to make him survive. All the projects are like that. When we are looking at the projects in the whole world and the numbers, I have been working before Wabtec, working with General Electric, and before that working with Siemens for the last for my career for 25 years. It's always like that. The project somehow is born to die. So this is we have to think about. And the project manager, something like, as mentioned by Amr, something like orchestrating. So imagine that as a patient into the emergency ward after a fatal accident, and you need just to make sure that he has a pulse, and to make sure that all the team knows, everyone knows what he needs to do. And this is what Amr mentioned, actually, is how to make a synchronization before having the ward. That's how the training is all about. When we have the training for the project manager and the project participant, and have this kind of a lot of kickoff meetings and project simulation and things like that, that's how we are simulating what could happen if you have this patient coming into the emergency ward. You do that, you do that, you do that, the finance will do that, this, do that. And your biggest dream is to make him survive and went to the emergency, and to go out of the emergency and go into intensive care. This is the first phase. He would be in the intensive care. Maybe he has some kind of operation, which could be the change management at the time. And after that, you would be very lucky if he went to the step down ICU, and then go to a normal ward, and then to say, okay, bye-bye, you are fine now and you can go. The biggest challenge is to understand the life cycle, or each member. You should understand we are not here as a project manager or project team to have a journey. We are having here to make this patient survive, to be out of this risk. All the projects are the same. Whatever they are telling, but all the projects are the same, stressful. That's all about the challenges that we have in the world, the competition we have. So it's normally to have this kind of stress. And I would recall that one of my colleagues in 2008, when I was in Germany, she was working in the Netherlands. She was telling me, it's either, if you are working in project management, so you either get one of two things: either you get a heart attack or you get a nervous breakdown. so that's why she was laughing. She was a very successful, actually, project manager, but she was giving me a clue about it. So the biggest challenge is people to engage them about that. We will have some tough times, and this is the nature of the project. Our task as project manager and the project team is to make it survive. I would say that with the pandemic thing, this kind of human touch and the humorless. And for the project manager, as he's spending about 90% of his life speaking, he should find a way. And the way I found is sometimes using the technologies like WhatsApp group. It's very, very nice to have a kind of WhatsApp group, WhatsApp chat. And you need, for the cultures, you need to understand what each country is using, because, for example, in the US, they are not fan of the WhatsApp, so you need to see what they are fan about. So, and start to making, people would like to have to find that you are reaching them in some cases, not just for the work. That will make things more lightly. Having the engagement is to be authentic about what you are saying. What we are giving our team is our authenticity. So if we are authentic and they are giving them this as a coin, so we are trading our authenticity against their work. If we are not authentic, so they will scratch the back of their head, oh, what's this guys want? And in most of the companies, the organizations we have, in most of the companies, we don't have a kind of, we have strong metrics, but we don't, in many cases, we don't have projectized companies. So that's why you are lending or have a loan from other departments. So they are dotted line to you. They are not actually, you are not there. You are not their managers. So this is very critical, how to make them engaged, how to make them things like that. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but the idea here is, again, is to make the team feel that like what we have done before when we are in high school, that we need to go around with someone. So we need to engage with him. We need to be nice with him, to understand that, and that's it. So this is my input concerning this kind of challenge.
Okay, thank you, Almahdy. Thank you, Amr, for your thoughts. I was having in mind the idea of bringing in the identity challenges that rise, pardon me, considering the challenging environments around and the circumstances that I mentioned. But then I understood that it would be probably more relevant to the current discussion to add another idea, which wouldn't take too much of our time. But in fact, we all know, based on what gentlemen have said, that project management has never been easy. It has always been a very engaging and stressful job. Indeed, very often resolving with a heart attack or a nervous breakdown. However, life was more or less comprehensible and understandable for us because we had a certain toolkit that we could use in order to progress. We had certain patterns, certain tools, certain recommendations, advisory from whoever. You take the classics of project management to the trendy consultants. And shall you have this toolkit, it would probably mean that you're more or less safe together with your practice and together with your experience. However, it feels that what we've been discussing throughout recent decades in the area of education has finally turned into practice. Let me explain my idea. For many years, the education professionals, the educators, were speaking that we live in a post-industrial world, which is driven by industrial school or industrial education system, which means that in the education of industrial world, we are training a person to be an effective part of a machine that should function according to the specific role assigned in the diploma, let's put it this way. Yeah. So if you enter an emergency ward as a surgeon, you should be a surgeon, and this is your set of rules, and this is your set of skills, and this is your set of tools, and this is what you should do. So if you go through this industrial education model in a successful way, then you're very likely, again, with a good practice and good mentorship in place, very likely to get a successful career path and perform your job accurately. But then lots of educators were saying saying that we are entering post-industrial world where changes are everything. And this is not even VUCA world these days. We are now speaking about bunny world and whatnot, which is incomprehensible with incomprehensible changes. And this is specifically why a lot of education professionals were saying we need to prepare people to be adaptive, flexible, agile, and in fact, very open to whatever function they will need to do. So be able to think critically, be able to be empathic, interculturally aware, and whatnot, because the challenges that we might face will be very different from the challenges that we faced even 5-10 years ago. This is specifically the moment to accept that the educators were right. And this is the point to understand that the typical tool set and the typical, let's say, background that we got used to is no longer enough. And it's no longer enough to do an A to Z instruction. It is indeed critically important to be flexible and to be adaptive. Otherwise, if we still continue to follow the same flow that we used to before the great changes and before the new era, as you called it, during at the title of this panel discussion, that probably will make no sense in the future, because the changes are appearing much faster compared to the changes we can introduce into our education, training, and development system. That is why raising an opportunity for the people to be adaptive, giving them more flexibility, giving them the so-called laissez-faire strategy, giving them more chances to introduce their own initiatives, giving them more chances to be flexible in their choices and their tools, in their way how they interact with the people, in the way how they engage them. That be introducing, let's say, a call on Friday morning that will be an informal call for all the participants of the team, that would be an informal copy of a stand-up Monday morning, can be something that can really support people who are suffering and going through turbulent times. Or let's say, instead of providing a normal feedback session, which we typically got used to and which is set in our project management flow, perhaps asking for a more gamified or a more informal feedback session, which could be done together with new tools, digital tools that could be using anything from Miro to Menti. Anyway, this flexibility that could be open to a project manager could definitely do a world of good, considering the fact that all traditional tools and methods will no longer work with the new environment.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Christina, for the tools as well, and Almahdy and Amr. And I think that actually here talking about these things really helps to, get these ideas how to make it different. Because, for example, with me, well, actually, we had this situation with my colleague Amr, and he was a little bit amazed at some of my things I did at the beginning of our Zoom meetings, where I showed this cat thing, and I asked them, how are you today on this cat scale, and so on. And I felt like, to me, it all felt, I don't know, like a summer camp type of thing for children that I used to work for, and I was all about this creative ways. But actually, it is what people like now, and it is sometimes in place to do it. But it's sometimes so hard to get more creative with it. And sometimes whenever I saw that in my teams that I managed, not only for volunteering, because here we're a team of volunteers, but also for other teams, sometimes it's very hard to understand what are other ways also to do it. Or sometimes actually people feel that they are not ready for these interactive things, and sometimes people are kind of, okay, let's do the business and straightforward to what we want to talk about, and I don't have time for your cat scale type of thing. So it's I think it's also a challenge, to kind of have everyone in this one boat, where we are opening up to each other and so on, because sometimes people here, they're not ready for this also things. And that is actually something what came to my mind right now as we speak about this approaches to the meetings and to the team project management.
For me, like I have another thought. Like right now, with the new work culture, I'd like to challenge every one of us, like who used Zoom for the first time. How many times we said that, hey, I'm sorry, that thing, let me take care of my dog. I'm sorry for that. So let me take care of that. I'm sorry, like my wife like passed behind me. So we said that we have, and I told him that you don't have to be sorry, actually. We shouldn't be here. We should be in the office. We are invading their space. It shouldn't be, it's not like the other way. The dog is astonished that we are staying home and they're happy. They would like to show that we're happy. The cat as well, the pets. And this is the time that's from 8 to 5. I'm outside. So this is the way that everything changed. And we have like to be accepting that this change will influence the way we do and approach things. So having said that, when it comes to project management, and I like what Almahdy mentioned and Christina, that we have to, Christina mentioned some very good tips so that we can increase the engagement, like doing those stand-up Monday thing, we can do it. And at the same time, we have to govern this relationship. So this post-COVID and this working from home culture and the engagement piece will necessitate that it imposes on us that we have to see the human side of each and every one. Prior to that, we come to work with our, like, we put our work mask and step into the office. And after like 5, I pull out my work mask, I go back to home, and this is like my other role. But right now, you are right now seeing my whole mask. They have seen everything. So be authentic. Yes, I like that what men mentioned, and be the genuine. This is the approach in project management. We are humans. Having said that, because project management, the pressure falls on their shoulders and they have to deliver. So we have to govern this relation. So like I'm again like back to harmonizing the team. We have to govern. So I would invest the first couple of meetings so that we can know each other well. What is the stuff that I can do? What is the stuff that I cannot do? Why I'm on this project? What are the stuff that you don't call me like on? I won't be able to help you, and show vulnerability. What are the stuff that I'm weak at? Like I'm a human being. I'm strong at something, and I'm very bad at other things. So let me not shy away and escape from this. At least the project manager has to know this so that they can deliver the projects on the projects. So be open, govern the relations, and be on the human side of it.
May I catch up on that?
Sure.
Thank you, Amr. And I'd just like to say that this is a great tip for, I'd say, all project managers, regardless if they always work online or they have a blended environment. I hardly can find teams now that only work offline with no online presence. Nevertheless, I'd just like to say that I liked in Amr's speech the point. I devote first several meetings to something, because for many of us, especially for those of us who come from more open, more low context environments, more direct communication environments, it's totally okay to come and say, hey, let's discuss and define what we are going to share with each other, where our vulnerabilities are, where we are able to share with each other this and that, how we can structure the communication during non-working hours, working hours, how do we manage the different time zones, et cetera, et cetera. But for many cultures across the world, this is something outstanding. This is something that doesn't go natural. This is something that is not very typical in our workflow. And this takes time. And I'm not saying that we should push our colleagues from less direct cultures to start, at the snapshot, becoming more open, more direct, et cetera. Each culture has its own precious features, and it's wrong to ask people to change within a very short period of time. And it's important to respect those particularities, but at the same time, nothing changes as slowly as people's psychological patterns. So I would say it does take several meetings, it does take so much time, and it's probably one of the key things that all project managers should remember. People do need time, to accept, to digest, to process certain things. And a lot of my colleagues who have now opened businesses abroad because of being relocated, or because of this new political environments, they call me and they say, hey, Christina, I've opened my Belarus, Russian, Ukrainian business here in Dubai, and I now have a team member from Dubai, from India, and from Pakistan together with my Slavic team. And it just doesn't seem to work when I start communicating with them this and that way. And the first question I asked during this consultations is, how much time did you give them to absorb this reality? And like, maybe about 1 week or so. Okay, good for you that you've started this process, but the point is it takes so much more time. So patience here is the key. Of course, we all don't have time, we all are in a very pressed business environment, but when it comes to this people's changing environments, people's changing settings, it does take much more than, you know, one meeting or just a week of new setup. That's all I wanted to say.
That's a great point. Honestly, I'm enjoying our panel discussion so much, and I haven't noticed how we spent almost an hour. We have only like 7 minutes left of the panel discussion, and there are so many things that are also to discuss. And here, I think the question before the last one, I'll try not to ruin the timing too much, but just so many things. So like maybe in short, like just in 1-2 sentences, what do you think about the kind of trends and the future of engagement and relationship? And like what trend do you see right now, and how can we kind of prepare for that, or like in advance, if you can think of something? Like, you know, because sometimes not sometimes, right now we are in this bunny world, and what is, I mean, next?
Okay. Let me tell you, like right now we're in a conference and we're like different continents, different countries. Go back like 5-6 years, when you say conference, the first thing that comes into your mind: ticket, hotel accommodations, where I'm stay, how much is the budget, who will sponsor my company, all stuff. Right now, this is the mandate, this is the reality. And whether we like it or not, I wish to be in Dubai. I wish like to meet with Mahdi. I would like to meet with Kris and have like this personal interaction and go and take coffee together during the coffee break, discuss some points. This is not happening. Thank you, but this is not happening right now. What's happening, what's available right now is the Zoom thing. So this will, I would say, remove this personal interaction, not as before. So the trend is, thing is gonna be tech driven. Having said that, while we know that it's going to be tech driven and this is going to increase, not decrease, so we have to be conscious, aware that there's a human component into delivery. We have to connect even on Zoom. The Zoom is a media, it's not a mandate, on personal one-to-one connections. So even like, as in Mahdi mentioned, that I meet with my team, if you think that one of your team is not in the mood during this Zoom meeting, like say that's, hey, Kris, I would like to stay with you on the phone. What's going on? Like, what's happening? And I understand that people pass through things and circumstances. For example, I would say, let me put this assumption, it might be a wrong assumption, but none of us like haven't lost a friend or a family member in the COVID. This impacted each and every one. We knew people who were like suffered from COVID, and different varieties, different variation, different strains, and different symptoms. So people pass through stuff, and even the acceptance of the COVID differs from one to the other. How we perceive the COVID, like to the extent that it becomes political. Okay, so at least we need not to accept, but to understand and deal with that. Okay, so don't my trend, my observation, the trend that's going to be tech, but please be conscious, aware that there's an emotion involved, and we still can build this connection and maintain the one-to-one relationships.
Okay, thanks. Kris or Ahmed? Okay.
Well, I would echo what Amr mentioned, and I always say it like that: life will find a way. We are human being, and this is number one. And as I mentioned before, that we are a kind of emotional creature, so we will find a way to fulfill this need. So we will find a way. So life find the ways, either as by technical things, but this is, I would say, that could take time, but there will be always the way. But during how we should be prepared for the when things are moving around and things, I would say, we feel it's a kind of turbulence. What I'm always do is
we can hear you for some reason.
Mahdi, yeah.
Maybe it got disconnected somehow.
You're muted. You're muted.
now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so so as what was the last thing I was saying?
The life will find a way and definitely will prevail.
Yeah, so life will find a way. As we are at the end of the day, we as human, we are emotional creatures. We will find a way to fulfill our needs. This is normal thing. It will take time, but we will find a way. When things are, I would say that moving around like crazy, what I always do is back to basics. What's the basic thing here? Because basics will remain the same. Whatever the tools, it's a tool of the communication, but communication will remain. So we will have to get the communication to each others. It doesn't matter how we are communicating, but it should be like that. So the taking care about individual team members is a basic. So we should have this. How we can achieve this? It doesn't matter the tool. Like if I'm traveling from Egypt to for example, to the US, it doesn't matter if I'm using the plane or maybe the cross-Atlantic vessel or whatever the thing, but the destination is there and the first step is there. Always I have to pick the right tool to reach the destination. Let's focus on the basics as project managers, what we need to do, what we have to do, and what we have, the tools we should use to achieve what we need. If, for example, the finance, if I can do my finance in a paper, I can do my finance on a SAP system, I can do my finance, whatever the platform, but at the end of the day, I have to do my finance. The same with people. I have to be a people manager. Projects is all about people. I have to be a people manager, managing the relation between myself, the customer, the subordinates, as well the peers, which I'm stressing the peers is the most important thing, that we always taking care about the customer, but the internal customer is much more important. They are their colleague and they are looking at you. And sometimes you have to understand that. Thanks.
Thank you. Kris?
Diana, do we have still the 2 minutes for me, or we have to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's do the 2 minutes and we'll wrap up.
Okay, I'll try to be as quick as possible, but still comprehensible. I just say that on my side, on this intercultural communication field, I feel it's growing now, and I feel it's going to be growing more and more in the future, is the discovery of the unknown world, let's say, of the terra incognita. Because of the tectonic changes that both pandemic and the turmoils have been bringing, it's notable, first of all, because the financial markets are moving, and also because the touristic landscape is moving and lots of other landscapes are moving. We're seeing the new countries and the new cultures emerging in the global playfield. So I don't know how many Saudi colleagues you've had, say, 10 years ago, and now we're seeing more and more Saudi projects, people, representations, offices growing across the world. Let's say, how many sub-Saharan African colleagues have you had, say, 10 years ago? It's growing there. Yes, this number is increasing dramatically. Same goes with Latin America, some smaller Asian countries. So let's say it is going to be more diverse, and I personally like it, because this is where my expertise comes in handy with connecting people from different cultures. But apart from that, I also want to say that it's going to be, as a second trend that I'm seeing, is that cultures that have typically been more person-to-person oriented are relearning. And because, as we've mentioned earlier, relearning for people takes so much time, it's not happening quickly, but it is going to grow there. So people who have been 10 years ago working with, let's say, the Middle East, they've known that before you land in the Middle East, it's going to be very hard to strike a deal. The emailing, the messaging, the video conf calls didn't work much until you come, shake hands, have your coffee or tea, depending on the country, until you actually sit down, learn about each other, shake hands, and, you know, finally make the business together because you become connected to each other. The cultures are unlearning and relearning these days. I can see more and more Emirati colleagues, Turkish colleagues, Egyptian colleagues learning how to do business online, learning how to communicate and establish connections online. It is not happening quick, but you're going to see more and more, let's say, person-to-person cultures learning how to do business long distance. And that's why the person-to-person communication is going to grow even more luxury. So offline is becoming new luxury, and it will be still a new luxury. That's my personal opinion. But even though it might seem a bit of a sad trend for many, I still look very optimistic on all of this. And it feels that it is teaching us to be more empathic. It is teaching us to be more non-biased. It is teaching us to be more open to the other new cultures that we didn't come across with. And this is filling my heart with optimism.
Thank you so much. I think it's a great way to close our panel with those ideas where we shall harmonize the teams. We shall have this mental toughness, and also have the being human to each other, and of course be more open to the cultures and having this optimistic for seeing things optimistically and being ready for change, but addressing it in the best way possible for us. So I thank you so very much. I am very happy with our panel discussion, and I actually you probably don't see, but on our platform I see the comments here from Zita, who was saying that very interesting panel discussion addressing so many factors and opinions. Ivana is saying that great panel discussion, thank you for all the info. And I think that we really truly covered today not only relationship and engagement in a very narrow type of approach. We covered so many things, starting from challenges and COVID and conflicts that are going around, addressing it, but also went to those future trends, tech stuff, and all of those things that we are around and we have to deal with. So thanks a lot, Amr. Thanks a lot, Almahdy and Kris. Really, you're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Almahdy and Kris, I sent you both like invite on LinkedIn. Let's connect.
Oh, for sure we will.
Sure.
There's no other way.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
actually,
Bye.
thank you very much. And right now, I'd like to invite to the stage our team, and I will do it this way. I'm trying to also be tech girl here. Okay, so Simana.
But I will be leaving this, right? I will be leaving.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Amr.
Bye-bye.
You're leaving.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Hi, take care.
Hi guys. So it's the closing time. It is a closing time. Where do have Fireshte also here joining us? So then I will take the moment and start the closing. So I can't believe that it's been 2 days already, and honestly it was quite interesting 2 days. I think that during these 2 days we did learn how to adapt, adjust, and accept, embrace. It was a very learning experience for us, and I think for you as well. And of course, with all of the takeaways, and I think with the panel discussion here, we did a great job in terms of covering the topic of relationship and engagement. And I think it was a very good point that this includes so many things. This includes self-reflection. It includes also leadership, teamwork, conflict and crisis management. So many things are also included in this topic of reflection and engagement. And I am, especially happy for those people who've been with us for a couple of editions now, so that, you are building up this competences as we go, and you see how they can be applicable in some of the practical ways that we've covered covered during these days. And of course, on that note, I'd like to give the word to our team, to Amr, Simena. I think that our moderation was quite nice. I hope you also liked it.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. Thank you all. And I would like to start with that we are greatly appreciate the support we have received from our partner, Todoist. For those who don't know it yet, Todoist is a task manager app for simple, powerful to-do list app. It's ranked best in class by Apple, Google, Forbes, and more. And the goodie bag after the conference, you will receive a special offer from Todoist with extended period of premium account for free. Thank you. Simana.
Okay, so thank you so much to all the audience that has with us these 2 magnificent days. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to cooperate with our partner, One Tree Planted. One Tree Planted is a non-profit organization focused on global reforestation with a vision to make it simple for anyone to help the environment by planting trees to restore forests, create habitats for biodiversity, and make a positive social impact around the world. Thanks for all of you. We will plant more than 100 trees globally as we donated €1 for each life attending. So thank you so much to One Tree Planted.
Also, we have our sponsor for many editions now, who's Balsamiq Wireframes. It is the industry-leading rapid wireframing software that combines the comfort and simplicity of paper sketching with the power of a digital tool. And I think it helps you a lot as project managers, but also in IT and website designing. So definitely check them out, as they are doing a great time to make our life easy as project managers.
And finally, we have to thank Van Haren Publishing. Van Haren Publishing is founded in 2001. It has there since become the world's leading publisher in the best practice, framework, methods, and the standard within the IT management, project management, enterprise architecture, and business management. And we supposed to have with us our project manager, Frishta, but she is encountering an internet connection. She is trying several times to get with us in the closing ceremony to share with us that as a project manager for October 2022 conference project manager, she would like to share with you that in such event, and this conference has been an outstanding example, our minds have been assailed by a torrent of ideas, information, statistics, interpretation, and vision, and it will properly be a day or 2 before we can sift through them to consolidate our own personal perspective. She also would love to tell you that she hoped you enjoy the conference, and she would like to appreciate your trust and patience for being with us on the first day, despite having technical issues in the relation to the platform, which we are very sorry about. The first day surely was blessed, but thanks your trust, we were able to achieve content transfer and networking, which are one of our main goals in the conference. Also, Frishta would like to tell you that it's so essential for her to share her appreciation with the whole team for the tireless effort to make sure that we can continue the conference on the platform again on the second day without any problem. She sharing thanks for you, Diana, Roselle, Andrea, Irfan, Katia, and myself for all our commitment. Thank you, Frishta, for that. You were the maestro for the conference. We hoped that you could manage to join us, but we really appreciate that. Simana.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, since the Global PM Days IPMA Young Crew Online Conference is a biannual event, we look forward to seeing you again in May 2023 to discuss another competencies from ICB. So they are Diana.
I'm here. May I just take a moment also before we dive into the announcement of our topic for the next edition, as our tradition every time. But I would also like to thank the platform Beams that we've had our conference on for their support. And nevertheless, there were some circumstances. We did manage it, and we're truly thankful to you guys for the support. I hope you can hear us now, and it is really great that you were with us throughout this whole time, providing the needed support. And going back to the topic, so it's been 7th edition for us already, and we've covered 7 people competences out of 10 that we have in the ICB4 project management standard. And those competences include leadership, conflict and crisis, self-management and self-reflection. It also includes such things as teamwork and all of those things that I've mentioned so many times already today, because they are all included in engagement and relationship. But we still have 3 more to cover. I'm curious, actually, guys, in the chat, if you're still here with us, is there anyone who remembers the people competences in ICB4? And maybe you remember what are the competences that are left? Any ideas, thoughts?
Yeah, it was too much on 2 days on our participant. Let's help them on that. It's too much now. I would say the remaining are personal integrity and reliability, personal communication, and result orientation. Rest assured, I'm here to help you.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So then let me announce the topic for the next conference, which is result orientation. So we'll be talking about result orientation and those tools and techniques that can help us not only engage people in the teams, but also help us achieve those goals that we set for our teams, and have these high performing teams, have those results that we are looking truly forward to. And during the conference, we'll also cover those topics that we haven't been covering so far that will help you to enhance the level of project management, or even the level of you working in a team. So with that being said, I think we're ready to close the conference with this sad task we are.
Yes, and to close out the conference, Frishta, would like to share with you that she is truly thanking all of you, and she assured that you have also got a lot from this conference. First of all, she is thankful to Alignment for giving us the courage and the spirit to arrange this glorious event. His placing has turned this event into grand of success. Thank you all.
Thank you all so much, guys, and let's applause to the 2 days of the conference.
Thank you so much. And don't forget, let's look at here in LinkedIn if we can connect. So let's keep in touch. And if you can follow the pages of IFMA also to be in contact with us, we will appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And by the way, we are going to the networking rooms right now. So we still have a networking session after each closing. You know that in offline conferences, you can walk around, talk to each other. So let's walk around in the rooms on our platform and have the exchange of the ideas and your takeaways after this conference. So we'll see each other in May or in networking rooms right now.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.